Tractate Bava Batra, page 90. We'll start on the very bottom of 89b, 4 lines from the very bottom of the page. Here we continue with the subject of midot, meaning the way that sometimes people are cheating other people, meaning seller-buyer relationships. In those days they used to have a measurement, and people used to measure things by physical scale. And we explained yesterday that even carries in a person's home an incorrect scale, it's a violation of the law. So here we are, the very bottom of 89b. תניא נמהכה לא ישעה אדם מידך הסירה או יתירה בתוך ביתו ואפילו היא אבית של מימי רגליים. Here it's a strong statement. They said, you have in your home old scale, you don't use it, you keep it in your house for all kind of urgent need, but if you have a business, you have a store, you have your own 1 or 2 or 3 scales. Here they said no. Do not keep that incorrect scales in your house. Even the use is not to measure in those days wine or oil or other liquid. You use it even for those days they used to do it, I'm sorry, forgive me, for urine, right? It says even for those purposes you cannot keep it in your house. Why? The fear is, as Rashbam and others said, bishat hadchak, when a person in the press need, he may use it. And since the scale is incorrect, you may enter domain of charging or taking something from someone more than he or she is supposed to pay you. Now, there's a lot of derivative from that. Soon you see business people, what they do sometimes. They claim is a sale. The reality, it's not a real sale. They raise the price of a product, and then they claim that there is a special percentage less than the price. So here, it's all kind of tricks. But even go with the honest people, the Rashbam said, that they can mix up the scale that it's not measured properly to the scale that is really, as we explained yesterday, is all kind of measurement for the proper scale. Therefore, if it's a chance to mix between the one which was measured properly, the one that is not, therefore they put boundaries, they put the restrictions not to use those scales. Now, before we go to the list of the scales, there is a book called Hachinuch. There is a book that gives a list of commandments. So in a mitzvah Taf Reish Bet, the mitzvah number 602, he said, even there are people who said to us, look, that scale in my home, I'll never use it. But he said, since the Torah said, Lo yiyeh lecha beveitcha eifa veifa, the Torah said in Deuteronomy, which we read at length yesterday, you shall not have something that it's incorrect measurement. Maybe you sometimes enter to that problems of using it. Therefore, that follow that framework. Don't have it in your home. Give it away. Get rid of that. So there's a book called Minchat Chinuch. He commented on the Rambam, who said that the only prohibition to keep it in your house is if you have the intent, deep in the heart of heart, to swindle people, to artifice, to cheat people, not to give them the right measurement. So by having that within your domain, you are in every second in a violation of the Torah law. However, the Minchat Chinuch derived from the Rambam that if he keep it in his house just to keep it in your home, not in order to cheat someone, He said it's still a violation, but it's a rabbinic violation. Again, this is something that I leave it tzarich yun, because you see that in one hand the mechaber, the code of Jewish law in Choshen Mishpat Reish Lamed Aleph 2:31, he holds the same as the Rambam. But if you go to the whole idea, if it's a rabbinic or biblical, etc., that's it's not as simple as that as it sounds like. As we said, the rabbis basically hold that the violation is if one does it with the intention to cheat other people. That's the real biblical violation. Anyway, there is a lot to talk, so let's see first the measurement. Aval oseh se'at tirkav. So here we go to the measurement of the Talmudic time. So obviously Talmudic time, it's kind of something that we just need to know the names, but the concept, the same concept, which is tirkav is 3 kabin, וחצי תרכב וקו וחצי קו ורובע ותומן וחצי תומן. חצי תומן is like half of the 1/8. So all of that, it's if you want to really kind of understand it better, try to transfer it to eggs. So for example, if you use the term kav, it's like 24 eggs. Or they use chatzi kav, so you divide it 24 to 2 is 12. That's the way Rashbam explained to us. Rova is again half of that, half it's 6. Toman, half of the 6 is 3 eggs. Chatzi toman is egg and a half, which is half of shminit. And then we are on page 90, top of page 90. Ve'uchla. Ve'uchla. So here the Gemara asks, what does that mean? V'chamahi uchla. And the Gemara said, echad mechamisha birvi'ah. So the way the Rashbam explained, it's a 1/5 of log, which is egg and 1/5. Like 1 egg and addition 20% of another one. Ubemidat halach. So far we talk about dry product. How about wet or liquid product? Ubemidat halach hu oseh hin. Hin is 12 log. Vachatzi hin, half, it's 6. Ushlishita hin, 4. Uvi'ita hin, 3 logs. Velog, which is a 6 eggs. Vachatzi log, which is there are 3. Uvi'it, 1.5. Ushminit, 3/4, 75% of egg. Ve'echad mishmona bishminit. Vezeu kortov. So kortov, that's a you see it in several places in the Talmud that's applied to a minimal quantity. That's the way Rashbam explains. It's the big question is any amount that it's not precise, it's very tiny, it's very small. That's called kortov. We use it, for example, for the mikveh. That even the missing kortov maim, kortov water, it's pasul, the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah 13, and others. Anyway, uvel'avid namei kabaim. The Gemara said, atelachlu betirkav. So maybe we should have it 2 cups. So it said the people mix it with the 3 cups, tirkav. Alma ta'u inshei tilta. You see here that people, you see how much the rabbis are careful not to cheat people, because people can mix up between those measurements, that the difference is only 1/3 from the large amount, which is 2/3. So, so the same school of thought that people can mix it with a half. The truth is that people not mix up between those measurements. The difference is 1/3. Kabayman utama de lo avid, deati leachluf bechatzi tirkav. people mix it with 1.5 kg, which is smaller from the kabbaim, only with 1/4. Alma, tai inish riv'a, יחי חצי תומן ואוכלה לו ליעבד. הרב פאפה מידות קטנות בקיא בו אינשי. Rav Papa hold that people are very well versed when it's come to the small measures and can distinguish between those difference of measurement. We said that that's applied to midot nefach, to measurement of size, but not avnei mishkal, not in the regular stones. That's the way Rimigash, Ritva, and the Rashbam explains. So they said shlishit ain uvi'it ain lo le'aved, because again people mix up and is a concern that swindlers or cheaters can take advantage. Since they use it in the Beit HaMikdash for libation, for the sacrificial offering, so the sages did not want to impose such a severe decree by private people. Bamikdash lama legzor, so we should make that rule also in the Beit HaMikdash. So Tosfot said that in order to check the wine that's good for libation, people can use the midat log, and therefore for the 1/4 of itahin they check 3 logs, 3 shlishita in 4 logs. So anyway, so they said Kohanim zrizin, and this is something you see a very common, that the priests, the Kohanim, are vigilant and will not commit this type of mistake. Amar Shmuel en mosifin al hamidot yoter mishtut. Shmuel said that they not increase the measure by more than 1/6, velo al hamatbea yoter mishtut. And when it's come to the coin, not more for the 1/6 in its previous value. והמשתכר על השתכר יותר משטות. So again, the one who will make a profit should be in a restriction of 1/6. Obviously, there is a Rashi in Bava Metzia 40 that deal with how far you go, that it's a Rambam in Chod Mechirat chapter 14 deal, how far you ask when it's come to a retail sellers versus a large quantity sellers, and what do you mean by 1/6. If times allow, later on we read several halachot here. So they said, "Mai ta'ama, en mosifim lamidah yoter mishtud, mai ta'ama, ilama mishum de'afku et tar'a, shtut namelo, ela mishum le'ona'a." Mishum, they are concerned that people may cheat it. So the question is, if it was less than shtut, less than 1/6, so you cannot go after that. It's basically you let go. We even said that lechatchila, people let go. But if it's more, then it's basically cheating. It's mekach ta'ud, is not. But if it's exactly 1/6, that basically he needs to return, as the Gemarrah in Bava Metzia 49b explains. But that's basically the measurement of exact shtut, 1/6. So they said, "Lo le'avei bitul mekach, ve'amar Rava kol davar shebamidah ושבמשקל ושבמניין אפילו פחות מכדי הונאה חוזר." This is an important statement. Rava said that any item that otherwise subject to halachot of cheating, of exploitation, and it is sold by measure, or sold by weight, or sold by number, even if the disparity was less than the measure of the exploitation, in a transaction, the transaction is basically a reverse, because it's ta'ud, is some form of misunderstanding, and therefore it's a mekach ta'ud, is not effective, kosher, proper way of sale. Ela de lo heve pseida letagara. So we don't want the merchant, the seller, to lose money, because usually if they go by making 1/6 over the principal, so that's the maximum that by halacha seller can make, We want to make sure that the merchant will not lose from the principle. Ravcha lo ba'e, zavan vezabin tagara ikrei. This is a very common statement. You see it many times in the Shas. They said that if you're buying a merchandise, you're buying something, and you sell it by the same price, you're not a businessman, you're not a merchant. Because the way that merchants work, everyone knows, they buy it cheap and sell it expensive. So we, meaning the rabbis, wants to make sure that the merchant makes money. Otherwise, let them sit in a kollel and study, right? They need to go out and study and sell in order for them to be a merchant, and we need them to do it. So a merchant must profit from his sales. So therefore, if this decree was instituted for the protection of the merchants, the sages should have ensured that they earn a profit. אלא אמר רב חיסדא שמואל קרא אשכח ודרש. Shmuel have a derivative, beautiful derivative of understanding from statement that the prophet Yechezkel Ezekiel in chapter 45 verse 12 said as follows. Here we talk about the framework of Maneh Yelachem. So they said Ve'ashekel 20 geira, and the shekel shall be 20 geira, 20 shkalim, 25 שקלים, 20 שקלים, 25 שקלים, 10 שקל, המנה יהיה לכם. So shall be you mane. So you see here the combination of all of these numbers, you can find that it entered to be 60 shekels, which is the same as mane, which is, that's the mane that was consecrated, that used in the temple, for example, to measure the ktoret, all the spices, the essence, and the only thing here, Yechezkel talk about pichut, about situations that will not match it properly, and soon you see how. Page 90b, Maneh matan ve'arba'in havu. You mean to say that you tell me that maneh it's 60 shekalim, which is 240 dinars. How? Because you take 60 times 4, how much is it? 240. But we know that maneh, you have 100 dinar, that is only 25. 25 times 4 is 100, so that measurement is not matched. Ela shma mina tlat. You derive from that 3 important principles. Number 1, shma mina maneh shel kodesh kaful haya. So here we have to differentiate between regular maneh shel chol that people use and maneh that it was consecrated. So he said chol, so it was 25, and kodesh consecrated what was 50. Number 2, shma mina mosifin al hamidot. You derive also that we add increase measure, but they not increase more than 1/6. Ve'en mosifin yoter mishtut. And number 3, u'shma mina shtuta mileva. That the 1/6 is calculated from the final sign, from the outside, which is 1/5 of the previous sum. Now we bring a story that relates to this subject. Rav Papa bar Shmuel takin kaila bar tlatak fizei. So in his place they instituted that a kfiza which is equal to 3 log. So the sages said, we just said that you don't add for measurement more than 1/6. So you have already 1/3 exist measure of half cup, which is equivalent to 2 log. So he said, Amar lehu, Rav Papa bar Shmuel responded and said, Ana, I, kaila chadeta takinei. I instituted a new measure. So people will not mix up. Shadrei lefumpedita, as we explained many times, one of the city of learning was Pumpedita, lo kiblua, sent to Pumpedita and did not accept it. Shadrei lepapunia vekiblua, so he sent it to Papunia and they accepted it. Vekaru lei ruz papa, and they called that measurement ruz papa, the measurement of papa. It's a few girsaot, osfot, remigash. Anyway, now I just first give the acronym. Is a 7 brightot. I don't think that time allows us to go to all 7, but we'll go some of them that relate to those subjects. We just give the acronym to remember. סימן עוצרי פירות, אין עוצרים ואין מוצאים ואין מצטקרים, פעמיים מבצעים, מרתירים ולא מוצאים. Okay, number 1, תנו רבנן. We learn the brighta, עוצרי פירות. So here we talk about people that collect a produce. The reason, like in the modern days, you have a refrigeration, or in the, you remember the Yosef HaTzadik, the story of how Joseph advised people in Egypt to keep underground, so it's a certain way to keep it for a long time. But basically, by doing so, you create in the market a needs. People see that it's they need a certain produce and it's not available, and obviously that increased the price. And the poor people obviously suffer because of that. So that's a very strong prohibition. The Torah said, "V'chei achicha imach," you let your brother live with you, and that's Vayikra Leviticus 25. So therefore, it's a prohibited. But anyway, malveh beribit umaktinei efa, people who lend with interest, and people who maktinei efa, that unfortunately people who falsely reduce the measurers, umafkiei sharim, those who raise the market price by selling for more than the accepted price. Alehen hakatuv omer, that's the prophet Amos said in chapter 8. לאמור מתי יעבור החודש ונתבטא שבר והשבת ונפתחה בר, להקטין איפה ולהגדיל שקל ולעבוד מאזני מרמה. It's a very strong language. וכתיב נשבע השם בגאון יעקב ומשכח לנצח כל מעשיהם. It's like the Almighty said that I'll not let go, I'll not forgive for their terrible sins. As we said in Vayigash 32, there is a she'iltot, the Rabbi Chai Gaon, that explains that in a way that this is something that is a very strong violation, and it's unforgivable in a way. עוצרי פירות כגון מאי, give me example of people that hold a produce. Give me example, meaning there is all kind of way to do it. So he said, אמר רבי יוחנן כגון שבתי עוצר פירות, that people collect those produce in order later on to sell it later on in expensive price. So meaning if you keep it and then you sell it for the normal price to poor people, that's different. But if you keep it in order to raise the price, then obviously the indigent will be hurt the most, then you're in violation. He used to sell, the father of Shmuel, his produce, בתראה חרפה, בתראה חרפה. So it means at the beginning of the season, meaning he did not delay the sale. Shmuel brei mashhe lefereim umzaben lu betara aflak ketara chafra, which is later on, shalchu mitam, they sent from Eretz Israel, tava de'aba midivra. The act of the father is better than the son. Ma'itama tar'a de ravach, which is obviously the moment that the market price that has been eased and the status and the start out law will remain eased with little increase over the course of the year. So therefore, one who makes produce available at the beginning of the season, like Shmuel's father, also help everyone and aid people during the entire year. However, a market price that starts out so high because people are not making the produce available at the market is not easily lower. אמר רב עושה אדם את כבו אוצר. A person may turn his own cow he may hoard the produce of his own field and sell it only at the later stage without violating the prohibition of hoarding produce. תנא מאחן נוצרים פירות, דברים שיש בהם חיי נפש, so the very basic needs. Soon you see, we read the Shulchan Aruch and the Rashbam, what does that mean? כגון ינות, שמנים וסלטות, like wine, oil, אבל תבלין כמון ופלפלים מותר. במה דברים אומרים בלוקח מן השוק, אבל מכניס משלו מותר. So that's basically I'll help the view of Rav. מותר לאדם לעצור פירות בארץ ישראל 3 שנים ערב שביעית ושביעית ומוצאי שביעית. So because the sabbatical year you cannot plant anything, so it means he needs to use those produce that raise the 6th year until you reach those the produce will continue on at the 8 years. ובשני בצורת, in those years that there is almost famine, that is no produce, אפילו קו חרובין לא יעצור, even a small cub of curb should not hold, מפני שמכניס מארה בשערים, because he basically create a situation that is like a curse in the market prices. Everyone is fearful of selling, and even a small fluctuation in supply can cause a significant rise in prices. אמר לרבי יוסי ברבי חנינא לפוגה לשמעי, that is the name of his assistant, פוק עצר לי פירי 3 שנים, ערב שביעית ושביעית ומוצאי שביעית. That's basically follow what we learn that period of the 3 years. The third braita, תנו רבנן מוציאים פירות מארץ ישראל, דברים שיש בהם חיי נפש. He said that one may not export produce from Israel if it's considered either that contain an element of basic sustenance, example, דברים שיש בהם חיי נפש כגון יינות, שמנים וסלטות, for example like wine, oils and flowers. Because if you have a need, so the people there, the Eretz Israel, take precedence, they need it. That's their produce. רבי יהודה בן בתרא מתיר ביין, רבי יהודה בן בתרא העלה wine, מפני שממעט את התפלה. Because he says that wine create a lot of lasciviousness, a lot of light-hearted and sins. So that's the Gemarrah in Eruvin 65 said the wine entered, the secret come out, which means all the desires. So therefore he wasn't so much for keeping it. But וכשם של מוציאים מארץ ישראל לחוץ לארץ, כאן מוציאים מארץ ישראל לסוריה. So basically we said that those places, Aram Naraim, Aram Tzova, that's King David conquered, but doesn't have the same kedusha, the same sanctity as Eretz Israel hold. That's basically north part of Syria nowadays, but that's called kibush yachid. Is not considering a kibush rabim. That's a famous Gemara in Gittin, page 8, page 47. You see it also in Avodah Zarah 21. Anyway, v'Rabbi matir, and Rabbi Yehuda Nasi permits the export of produce. Page 91. מהיפרחיה להיפרחיה, from a province of Eretz Israel to the southmost province of Syria, because they are attached to each other. So that's considering like in a way as one entity. I would like to share with you just a few moments that left, a few halachot, since it's a lot of halachot, so just some of them, vignette. This is a well-known Shulchan Aruch in Choshen Mishpat 231, the Sma. You see it also in the Rashbam and Ilchot Sanhedrin chapter 1. The court must appoint a supervisor of market prices to ensure that those who sell staple food item, for example wine, oil or flour, do not earn a profit of more than 1/6 of the item's value. In the case of a storekeeper who sells each item individually, his effort and expenses are taken into account in establishing this price. These restrictions apply when the court's directives are followed by all. if all the other storekeepers ignore the directives of the court, or there are idol worshippers, storekeepers over whom the court has no authority, an individual God-fearing Jew is not required to suffer a loss. But we said that the idea of measurement, we know that one have to have the one may not keep any type of inaccurate measure in his house, even if he does not use it for measuring, and even if it serves as a chamber pot, let someone unwittingly use it for measuring, and that's Ilchot Gneiva chapter 7 in the Rambam. The Shulchan Aruch Shel Mishpat in 231 said, if the custom in that location is to measure only with vessels that is marked with a known sign, like you see in Israel, there's a Ministry of Trade, Misrad HaMeschar VaTa'asiyah, they have a special measurement with sign. It is permitted to keep it in one's house, and as we said, that's the Choshen Mishpat 231, as well as the Rambam Ilchot Gneiva chapter 7.